Alright, so for all you Subi owners, if you might be considering upgrading, fuel rails or pretty much anything fuel system wise or evap related, and you're using a cobb access port, you're gonna come into, especially if you replace the fueling, you're gonna come into some problems with evap. And with the access port, obviously you can't tune out the evap deletes and stuff anymore. So I actually came up with a workaround. I'm sure there's stuff on the internet probably that can explain it better, but I figured I'd show you the way that I got around without having to evap delete, since obviously I removed the the factory hard lines, because I went full aftermarket fuel system. In the stock OEM hardline, they have an evap built into it. So this is your vacuum line, and this sits right on top of the block under the manifold. You can also see on your driver's side fuel rail, there is an evap line right here, and you got some hoses. So I'll show you. This is your evap. You got your fuel return under it, and then your inlet right here, and then right there with the blue, this is your evap line. That goes to your charcoal canister and all that. This guy goes down here to a, I don't know what it is, some kind of damper or something, maybe a pre-filter or something, and then it pops back out right here. So normally this would go right here into the stock fuel hardline rail system or whatever right here. You'd have your two fuel lines coming in, and then a third line would be your evap, which is this guy, which I cut off. So I didn't have a single coupler, so I actually ended up using a T. I went to AutoZone and got a T for something else, which I'll show you, and I just forgot to get that, so I just plugged the T right here with some epoxy and a little bolt. But anyway, so in order to upgrade your fuel system without deleting the evap, you just take this line right here. You're going to need to get some just some tubing from AutoZone or O'Reilly or wherever. Get some properly sized tubing, and then you're going to attach that to your evap, and then that's going to get routed down. And right here, I don't have it plugged in anymore because I can't fit it. There's a Evap Purge valve basically that goes to a sensor and two other lines. There's a return and an inlet line. I don't know if I can focus on that. Okay, so right here is the inlet, I believe, and this goes directly into the intake manifold. It's a vacuum reference, I would assume, for the purge valve. It probably purges into the intake manifold, I don't know. But anyway, there's this second line, and that's the return line for the evap. That one is connected to the right here on the rail that's under the manifold. It tees down into this hard line. This is the part where we replaced it with tubing that goes up to the evap. Normally it utilizes hard line on the OEM, but we're just using actual tubing. So right here where I showed you that return line, the return, I used another one of those T couplers and teed down into that line that goes up. And then also we have a second or a third line going to the left, just like that, because there's actually a second part of the evap, which is over here right by your map sensor. So this is for a regular WRX, obviously, not an STI. STI is going to be completely different. But there's not a lot of information out there for the WRXs. A lot of people modify STIs only, so this is actually super helpful for anybody that doesn't have an STI. I couldn't afford one. But anyway, this is the map sensor, and you got I have a cobb EBCS. But down here, there's a Evap Solenoid. It's actually right here. You can see the little sensor plug that goes into it, and then there's another inlet and return line, which I don't know if you can see, probably not. I have that down there. There's that T, and then I ran a line under the manifold and then hit right into that vacuum inlet port. The return line, or whatever vacuum reference line, the other one, it's the one that goes to your turbo inlet, and then it's the line right next to it is the one that goes across through your whole evap system. So basically all I did is I copied the OEM system just using rubber hoses and some couplers to connect this, and that's literally all you have to do. There's no tuning or anything like that, just as long as there's no air leaks and you put your fittings properly. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys so that you can understand. Possibly this will help somebody that can't delete their evap, or doesn't want to, or whatever. So I hope this is helpful. And because I did a full teardown, this was all out. If you followed some of my pictures, or I talked to you in the past about the millions of problems I had, this was a nightmare. So that being said, I do have a little bit more knowledge on this mess, and it's not the prettiest. I've got like fuel line coming across here right now. This is temporary. Everything eventually will be going under the intake manifold. I'm getting a aftermarket manifold, so everything is going to be cleaned up after that. Like this, my expansion tank is in a very awkward position right now, but tight. Anyways, one other thing that I could bring up is there is actually a vacuum line of a sort. I don't know what it actually goes to. I talked to a couple people and they didn't know. Like I said, unfortunately there's no support really online for just base WRXs. It's all STIs, and if all you STI guys know that the metal manifold and like all the vacuum lines and everything are totally different than base model WRXs. But anyway, you have your brake booster line, which comes through and it hits a brass fitting, and then you also have your vacuum reference line for your blow-off valve, bypass valve, whatever, which hits another barb right next to your brake booster. But there's actually a third barb here, which you will not find on any diagrams on the internet. I couldn't find one, and a couple people that helped me couldn't find one. So with this barb, I actually started the car with this is just fuel hose, with hose sticking out, and it was sucking air. It was actually blowing air, I believe. No, it was sucking air. It was sucking air like really bad, and it was causing the car to lean out really hard at idle. You could actually hear it just by taking your thumb and plugging it. So a solution, which you can see, temporary solution until I can figure out what it is, or take it to a shop and have someone tear all this apart, and maybe there's a barb, a nipple somewhere on the block that I missed, like a vacuum reference of some kind, I don't know. But anyway, the temporary solution I did is I just plugged this, and it completely remedied the vacuum leak, completely remedied. So I'm assuming that this maybe this was stock plugged. I don't really know. But yeah, so that's another little solution I did. And the reason why I have it this length is because when I want to in the future pull this out, I have something to grab onto. Otherwise I would have made it shorter. Anyway, I hope this is helpful.